So today I've got another destroyer game for you, and I really want to emphasize decision making in destroyers. It's so important to put yourself in good positions to help your team win the game. Um, that's really what it comes down to in a DD. It is all decision making, and you might think it's weird to open up like this, but if my DD is fighting another DD, I want to help. That's pretty basic, but something you should probably try and do. Another good thing I was doing there, since I don't have smoke, I couldn't smoke up and shoot. It allowed my gearing buddy to smoke up and maybe get a little bit of damage on the Harugumo without being shot at. If you're the farther back destroyer, or even if you're the closer destroyer, if somebody smokes up to start farming an enemy destroyer that you're spotting, you don't necessarily want to smoke up. You want to keep that enemy DD lit as long as possible so that you can kill that enemy DD. The one exception to that is when you're about to die. If you're gonna die, definitely smoke up to try and save yourself. That's something definitely good to do. Now here, I'm expecting this Harugumo to come flying around this corner and trying to kill our gearing. We do have a Venezia here, but realistically, I think this Harugumo is just going to try it. Since he got the gearing down to like 8k, I think that's going to happen. So that's why I've come over here to try and support and try and kill this Harugumo, because we definitely want to kill him if we're going to have a hope of winning this flank. That's for sure. Torpedoes are going to miss. That's fine. They were more for the Minotaur than anything if the Minotaur tried to get aggressive. And here comes the Harugumo, as predicted. Even if he didn't come out, this is still a good play to come out here, because we could torp the GK. Unfortunately, our gearing reversed out of smoke, so he's gonna get killed. But we do trade him out. Well, he actually trades himself out. But our little bit of DPM there did help. We get 8,500 to that Harugumo. That's 8,500 that wouldn't have been done to him, and he could have lived potentially. So definitely helping your friendly destroyers is a huge part of playing destroyer. It is so important to win the DD trades at the beginning, or at least tie them. Like this game, we tied it, right? Where we lost one, they lost one. So that does give me a lot of free reign on this flank, considering both their other DDs are on the other side. So I know it's not a destroyer in here, and it turns out it's the Austin in here. It's a ship that doesn't have radar, but we do have to be careful of it because it does have some pretty crazy DPM. He's using his reload booster right now, as you can see, so, we got a little bit of time before he really goes ham. But it's still a little worrisome over here. They have a lot of ships, and our ships are kind of all kiting at the back. And most of my team from the other flank are actually coming over here. So this game is not looking amazing. You can see our other destroyer, our other Halland, is actually just left alone to guard the decap, which is crazy. But these are things you need to keep in mind when you're playing destroyer. Any ship really, but keeping your eye on the map and seeing what your team is doing and seeing what the enemy team is doing is really important. So we know we're going to lose that flank. What do we got to do about it? Well, we got to win this flank. It seems pretty simple, but it starts with getting the cap. They will get the decap from us, so we need to get C. A. Pretty simple, but it is very important. And even if we just sit in here, the Minotaur, we're stalling the points out, and now that the Minotaur doesn't have smoke, we can keep him lit. We can actually reverse and light him. We know he's a smoke Minotaur, not a radar one, so we're actually okay to do that. So our position here is quite good. I think we've got some pretty solid torps on the GK there. When you're in a battleship, you really don't want to go in front of islands like this. It really limits your movement, and it's pretty easy to predict torpedoes on somebody like that. So that's 8 torpedoes, and we got our special commander skill activated, where we get better reload on our torpedoes for every 8 hits? 7 or 8 hits, something like that. It's pretty nice, because on a Halland you already have a really fast reload on your torpedoes. And basically you're just chucking these things out where you think the enemy ship's going to go. So it's a really fun playstyle. If you haven't played Halland before, I can definitely recommend it. It's a ton of fun. And now that we've got the cap, we really need to deter this Republic. That is the biggest threat to us. Austin as well, but to a smaller extent. It's mainly the Republic here. He's going into a very strong position. And the reason I say that is the enemy team is going to get control of D, and they're going to come around our flank, and they'll be on the, D7, D8 kind of area, just outside the D cap. And then we'll be put in a crossfire by the Republic. So we can see this happening already. They're about halfway through D, and this Republic is moving slowly forward, and we need to be really cautious of that. He's playing it pretty smart at the moment. It would be better for him if he just kind of stayed where he was. He has more than enough range to hit my friendly ships at this point. So he needs to probably turn around at this point and just maybe reverse in or slowly give ground would be the play for him. Same with the Austin. He's on such low HP, he should go dark and then try and smoke up. Or not smoke up, heal up. But fortunately our Puerto Rico gets the Austin, and then this Republic, he keeps slowly moving forward, and I'm not sure if he's just trying to bait my torps or something like that, but we're just going to sit here. I don't think he knows we're here, actually, because he hasn't been maneuvering. I think maybe he thinks I'm closer towards the Puerto Rico, or maybe I've gone back to defend at B since I'm the only destroyer left. That is the right play, by the way. A good play would also have been to go back to B earlier and not deal with this Republic, because it's likely our Puerto Rico and Ohio can deal with him. They are caught in a bit of a crossfire, but I decided to come out here to make sure we won this flank before I went back, since we are losing quite a few ships. Yeah, and there goes our CV already. That was pretty quick. So we're going to be... Yeah, we're down a CV, but at least the enemy CV is only an FDR. He struggles to deal damage to destroyers, just because of the way the rocket pattern is. It's more meant to shoot at battleships and destroyers, or battleships and cruisers, sorry. That's kind of the main targets of the FDR, so a little unfortunate we lost our carrier, but it's not the end of the world. We can still pull this back, and this Republic goes very predictable. It's a nice thing about Holland. The torps are so fast that there's not a lot of time to maneuver. And another 8 torpedo hits and a devastating strike, and there's another torpedo reload buff activated on our captain. So I think we have a minute cooldown on these torps now. Yeah, Holland is very fun, guys. If you don't have this ship, I can definitely recommend it. The AA is amazing as well, so even though you don't have a smoke, you're not really a target that carriers want to go after all that often. The key is just to keep your AA turned off, and then only turn it on when the CV spots you, which is that 2.7 kilometer circle, and then activate your defensive fire for the planes that are most likely to kill you, which is rocket planes most of the time. Sometimes torpedoes or dive bombers are the best option for the enemy carrier, but that's only really in the FDR's case, I think. So here I am thinking about pushing this Montana, but he's just going to reverse behind the island. So may as well get some free shots. One of the nice things about Holland is actually its short gun range. You do have some pretty strong guns. They're the same guns that the Småland has. They just have a slightly longer reload. It's a 2-second base reload instead of 1.6 or 1.7 that the Småland has. So they're pretty good guns still, but they only have a 10.4 kilometer range, which might think is bad, but it's actually very handy because oftentimes you're getting in fights with destroyers, and as soon as the enemy DD smokes up in that fight, assuming there's no other enemy ship within that 10.4 kilometers, you instantly go dark as well. You're undetected right away. So having a short range is actually kind of a good thing on this ship. And you can use islands to spam ships that are pushing into you. Here I definitely could have sat behind this island coming up here and just shot some HE at the Ohio to help kill him faster. But now that our Venezia is dead, it's probably better that I go out and just spot this guy for our team. The reason I torped where I did is I didn't want the Ohio to turn and get into the gap. That's a good way for us to lose. because it's gonna be very hard to dig an Ohio out of that gap, considering we only have 4 ships left, soon to be 3 actually. So that's why I torped where I did. But the Minotaur with his 2 single launch torps actually hits both from like 10 kilometers away, which is crazy, and that definitely helps us kill the Ohio in time, and we still have the B cap. So points aren't looking all that bad at the moment. You know, we're down like 150, something like that. Sorry guys, it's early morning for me. Let me grab a sip of my coffee. So now, the main problem is they have 2 full health destroyers. And you might think, yeah, that's going to be a death sentence. And normally I'd agree with you, but the way I'm positioning myself is very strong. It's really, really strong because we have a Minotaur. And what do Minotaurs do? They slap destroyers' broadsides. So I'm going to need his help if I'm going to win the fights versus the DDs. And fortunately, they're 2 relatively slow DDs, so it should be relatively easy for our Minotaur to hit. I'm not as much counting on the Vermont because, you know, long reload and all that stuff, and it's, you know, kind of hard to hit DDs as a battleship. But I am assuming these DDs are kind of in the B camp area. We do get radared, and this is something I like to do a lot, is I like to sit within enemy radar ships' range of their radar. We take a hit, but now we have the valuable information that the Des Moines has used his radar. So in 40 seconds or so, his radar is going to be gone, and we'll have 2 minutes or so of freedom where we can't be spotted by his radar anymore, which allows us to play a little more aggressive, maybe take the fight to one of these destroyers and have our Minotaur help us. It's really important to know when the enemy radar ship has used his radar. Now, we do end up getting spotted, but you'll notice I was kited away. I'm angled away here, and I was ready for the destroyer to pop up. Now, the Gearing does pop up, and he's on lower HP than our mod suggested, so that's actually very good for us. Both these DDs are a little bit lower than what we thought, especially the Gearing. So it's actually definitely doable that we win this, but you can see that I believe it was the Vermont actually that got the salvo into the Halland that helped me win this fight. But making sure you take as little damage as possible while spotting these guys is definitely important. Now here come the Minotaur shots, and yeah. It was Vermont actually again with the salvo. So these last 2 teammates of mine are actually very good. We're going to compliment them at the end. They did a great job. It was kind of the 3 of us that really carried out the end of this game. And here's what I'm talking about earlier, where sorry. We go dark the instant he does because of our detection or our gun range. Nothing else is within our gun range, so we can instantly go dark. This is huge for the Halland. Because if we would have had, you know, the range mod on our captain or whatever, then we would have been spotted by the Hindenburg, or probably not the Des Moines, but the Hindenburg would have kept spotting us, and the Gearing would have been able to get some free damage on us through his smoke. But since we don't have range, we actually are fine. We instantly go dark, and it's all good. Playing DD is really all about decisions, and it's a lot of spotting, it's a lot of contesting caps, it's a lot of gaining ground. Simply being where I am means that my team knows the Gearing is not here, and they know they're not getting torped from this angle yet. It's so important to gain this ground. Even though it looks like it doesn't really matter, it's important for my Vermont, especially, to feel like the enemy, where he knows where the enemy DDs are, he knows where the torps are coming from. It's really crucial for a battleship player to know that, and you know, as a Minotaur as well, smoking up a Minotaur, that kind of thing. Now we torp the cap on the edge because we assume the Gearing has probably gone to the edge of the cap. But playing a DD is more than just cap control, damage dealing. It's zone control is what I think of it as. It's really strong for your team to know where the enemy ships aren't. Any little information like that is enough to help your team win. And now we spot the gearing, and yeah, he's gonna die because it's a Minotaur at like relatively close range. You'll notice we are shattering. That is one of the cool things about a gearing. It does have a 21mm plate across the middle, so that's why you see me trying to aim for the superstructure or a little higher up on the ship, because we don't want to shatter our shells and then lose the trade. But we were never really going to lose that because we had a Minotaur friend. We'll skip ahead. Our Vermont gets around and kills the FDR, so a little bit of justice there for the aircraft carrier getting killed there at the end. And a great win, honestly. I think we played incredibly well and helped our team win that one through capping, kills, damage, but also a lot of map control. It's really, really, really crucial. And also, props to our Vermont and Minotaur for staying alive and being very useful at the end of the game. That's not something you can say about anybody, just everybody in this game. So props to them. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. Any game where decision making and positioning gets rewarded is always a good time for me. Here's the captain I'm running. It is very torpedo focused. You'll notice that our torpedo reload is down to 76 seconds, and it's pretty good. You get 90 knots of speed as well, so eventually I'll probably take Swift Fish even as my last 2 points once I get up to 21. And then you get to 95 knots. It's so fast, man. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm taking Liquidator because I want to cause more floodings, because that is one of the weaknesses of these kind of relatively weak torpedoes. Preventative maintenance is probably better than this, but that's just what I have right now. Last stand, very critical for a DD without smoke. You need to have your engine and rudder up at all times. Fill the tubes, pretty standard. Adrenaline rush, pretty standard. Superintendent, very useful because you need your heals and your defensive fires to really survive. And your speed boost too. Survivability expert, very standard for a DD. And then concealment. All normal things. Swift and silence is an interesting one, simply because you're often just using your torps, or at least the way I play. I'm using my torps a lot, and my guns aren't as big of focus for me for a Halland. If I want to play a gunboat version, I'm just gonna play the Smallland. It's just better at it. Yeah, it's just a better gunboat. But if you want to play more gun focused, you definitely can. It's not like you can't. You could take this to get yourself, 12 kilometers of gun range. It does work like that. I definitely have played it like that. I've just gone so in on the torpedoes because that's what I think of when I want to play my Halland. It is torpedoes. So that's the way I've got it. And with the captain, you saw we could get our torpedo reload down to a minute, which is pretty crazy for this kind of these kind of torpedoes that are so fast and hard to dodge. So torpedo reload, concealment, propulsion mod, torpedo speed, engine room protection, and main armaments mod. Pretty standard build, honestly. If you don't like how bad the dispersion is on the main guns, you could take aiming systems if you wanted to. Or if you wanted slightly better AA, you could take that as well. But I like the torpedo speed. Getting up to 95 knots is going to be my goal yet. But this is a great destroyer. I love it. Yeah. And any DD and game, like I said, where decision making is rewarded and what counts, that's a game that I'm going to have fun in. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.